Okay, I'm back. Let's do part two. Sorry, my battery was dying, so I had to cut it short. But let's get back to the shelf. So let me flip this over. Here we go. And by the way, all of the materials, all the printables that I'm showing you, those are all linked for users of the timeline. So if you have the timeline and you are wondering where you can find those materials, they are in each particular lesson. And if you have any questions on where anything is when you're looking through the timeline, just you can always shoot me an email or message me on Facebook. So let's get back to, and if you want more information on the timeline, you can always go to the link in my bio. So let's get back to the language section now. We had done the top shelf, and now I want to show you, speaking of materials that are on the timeline, so these are phonograms, and these are usually you use them in primary when the children are just kind of exploring phonograms. But these are the Mural Dwyer folders. And they are handmade. They are wonderful for teaching the phonograms in a way that's really accessible, but at the same time creates a clear order in the children's mind. And what's great about these is that they work for a 4 or 5-year-old who's learning how to read, but they also work for older children who are learning how to spell or who are refining their spelling skills. And so while they can be a little bit of a pain to make, they are awesome for a really long time, right? They will help your children from the time they begin to read through the time that they're refining their spelling skills. Okay, let's move on. And these are my grammar boxes, and they're from Branch to Bloom. By the way, my checkerboard is also from Branch to Bloom, and they're lovely. They're sewn, they're fabric, and each one of these little rolls is the actual, let me take it out so you can see it if you're not familiar with the Branch to Bloom brand. It's super high quality, lots of attention to detail. And you can see that it is the grammar boxes, but instead of having these giant boxes taking up 1,000 kilometers of shelf space, you have these very handy and easy to store materials, and then you also have the pouches. So these are awesome. Again, I'm not affiliated with them, but I love to support small vendors who are doing a wonderful job helping homeschoolers. So those are the grammar boxes. And what's great about these grammar boxes, by the way, is that even the text on the cards is adapted for homeschoolers. And so if you buy the ones, let's say from Neen House, for example, they will have a lot of commands that will require children to use things from a classroom. And most homeschoolers don't have a lot of classroom material. So for example, it'll say, get the pink tower, and your child will not have a pink tower. And so the way that Jennifer has adapted these for homeschooling is that she has really paid attention to what most homeschoolers have in their house. Then we have the sentence analysis material, and then the grammar symbols. And again, these are stacked, not a problem there. Okay, let's go over here. I'm going to move this way so you can see it. There's no glare. Okay, these are not technically Montessori, but I just thought these were really cute. Let me turn them so I can open them. These are stamps, lowercase and uppercase and number stamps. So I just thought they were really neat for when we're, studying the history of letters and print setting and all that stuff. Okay, now I can't close it, so it'll just have to stay open. Over here we have reading commands, which is the primary material with the verbs and then, 2 different verbs. And these are for children who are learning how to read. And then a rhyming dictionary. This is an awesome, so Scholastic has a great rhyming dictionary and a great children's thesaurus. And so those are some of the language materials. And then finally over here, I have, again, like I said, a lot of my students don't know any, don't have a Montessori background. And so what I realized was they don't even understand that words are made up of sounds because they've all been taught the names of letters. and they are incredibly confused. And so I've had to start kind of with sound games to just help them understand what I mean when I say that, a word is made up of sounds. So I'm not going to have these, these little animals for long, but they serve a purpose, and so I have them while they serve the purpose. I see there's a question. I need these stamps. Where did you purchase them? Oh my gosh, honestly, I don't know. Probably Amazon. Here, let me pull the box out so that you can see it a little better. Okay, so I honestly don't know, and I don't think it has, it doesn't have any, like a website or anything. But if I remember, I will let you know. Promise. But I think probably Amazon. So anyway, moving on. I have these small movable alphabets. Now I have one of the primary large cursive movable alphabets, but for my young new students, it's hard enough to, everything that is new to them. And I don't want to throw cursive into the mix. And so since they are mostly elementary, right, since they're mostly 6 and up, we're just going with the small movable alphabet. And I'm playing a lot of 3-period lesson type games where I introduce 3 sounds. I start with the sounds of their name. I introduce 3 sounds, and then we do a little informal 3-period lesson for them to memorize the sounds. And so every day I review the sounds that they've learned, and then I introduce 3 new sounds. And I just keep track of the sounds that I've presented. Now here's the red one, because you'll want to have 2 different colors to isolate the phonograms, or to have conversations where one person writes things in black and the other one writes things in red. So again, once you don't need a material, if it's kind of a remedial material, then you take it out when you don't need it. Okay, this is, it's the little sentence analysis material. Why it's here, I have no idea. Should be up here. So now I have a free cubby, not a problem. Okay, over here, let me take this out. So I love to collect old boxes, and it's fake old, but it looks really cool. These are improper nouns, and then past and present conjugations. Verbs. Sorry. Past and present tense verbs, improper verbs, and so all the different conjugations. And so there's a lot of them, so I've separated them into little bunches to make it easier for the children to work with one at a time so they're not overwhelmed. So those materials are in this box. And again, that's for my strong readers, so for my 8-9-year-old children. So the matryoshka we usually use for introducing taxonomic classification of animals, but my sister-in-law gave me this little book, and so right now I just have it kind of as something that the children can explore, and I can read the book to them, and we can pull out the matryoshka while they're getting familiar with the environment. But eventually it will be for classification. Okay, this is our little music box, and so here I have maracas, little tambourine, an egg shaker, and then this is a pad, and the drumming sticks I think are upstairs. Welcome to the crazy that is my house. And so these are, non-pitched percussion instruments, which are great for exploring beat, right? So I have these cards, and these are the Kodai method. And I learned about these, before doing my ORF training, but then we used them a lot, and we explored with them during my ORF training. And these are really cool because they're different beats. And so I'm not going to go into a lot of detail. By the way, these you can buy in Teachers Pay Teachers. So these are ta, right? And so you go ta, 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 and then these are TT, right? So they're different beats. So you have you have half notes, you have quarter notes, you have whole notes, you have eighth notes, and so you you have different combinations, and the children have to clap them out, and eventually they can do them with the instruments. And so, one of my goals is to, first of all, laminate these so they don't get trashed now that we have a lot of children. But secondly, one of my goals is to kind of show you guys how to use them because, yes, they are music, but they're also math, right? And so that's what makes it really cool, is that they are learning about patterns and fractions and all sorts of things very sensorially. Okay, that is the extent of my music right now, but we do songs and, dancing and movement and all that. Okay, now, and again, remember, this is homeschooling, right? So it's not really a classroom. I don't have everything that's in a classroom, so I make the best of what I have. Okay, now, love this material. And again, this material is available free for people who use the timeline. And it's the animal question and answer, so the animal research cards. And so it's different questions that your child can answer with these cards. And so you can have children as young as, 5, 6, if they're decent readers, using these cards to start learning how to research an animal. And what these cards do is they provide a lot of structure in the child's mind. And so they don't have to learn how to research from scratch, but they can actually follow the questions and have a limited number of answers and start thinking about how animals can be classified and described based on what they eat, where they live, how they reproduce, etc. So what's great about these is that you can use them with a 6-year-old, and just very simply, you can use them to help a child learn how to write an animal report. But you can also use them with an older child where you just use the questions and then you invite them to use books to research the answers. And you show them how to write notes and then how to convert those notes into a report. So simple little material, simple little printable, packs a punch. Okay, here I have, you might be wondering what this is, a tube and then a bunch of little tubes. Can anybody guess what this is? Okay, so these are vertebra, right? So this is how I introduce vertebrates. And so this is just a paper towel tube cut into little tubes. But it's a great visual for the children to understand the difference between a vertebrate and an invertebrate. And we talk about how we have vertebra, but it's not just one stick. It's not a tube like this, because if it were, we wouldn't be able to bend and twist. And so then we compare this to this so that the children can appreciate how our bodies are made. And then we talk about, the difference with invertebrates, exoskeletons, and all of that. And then that leads to this material that I've been working on arduously and I want to make available, but I'm just working on the control chart right now. So this is a first taxonomic classification, and it's a way of helping children classify animals from vertebrates and invertebrates, and then breaking it down into, the 5 classes and then orders, and so that children can start to understand one way of classifying animals. Now, this is not it's not 100% scientifically accurate. Science is always evolving, always changing. But I love, Maria Montessori said when they created this material, she said that it was like organizing a messy room. Once you organize a room, then you can start paying attention to the details of the room. And so that's what this is. This is organizing all of the animals that are in the child's brain, all of the animals the child has learned about in the primary years. It's kind of creating like a first classification, a first cleanup, and then the child can dive in and explore classification more scientifically. But, I went to Montessori school through the 3rd grade, and I remember having this amazing chart with a classification of animals, and I still have really vivid memories of that material. And so I wanted to recreate it for the children in a way that's easy for us to kind of print out and make. And so I am working on it as fast as I can. I can see you guys are excited. I am too. So I'll keep you posted when that material is ready. Okay, so now I have a couple of books here. Encyclopedia of Animals, and then the Nature Explorers scrapbook. And I just really quickly, whoa, there goes my material. Really quickly want to show you this book because it can get a lot of exploration started, right? It's a book, but it's also kind of a collection journal. So it has a lot of blank spaces and it helps children classify. So here they can collect seeds, right? They can tape, paste seeds. Then it talks about, for example, different grasses. And so it gives information on grasses. And then it has space for the children to classify and collect different grasses. And so it has the same for flowers, skulls. I mean, hopefully you're not going to put a bunch of skulls in here, but it has all sorts of amazing, different, like even, owl pellets. And then, the children can draw what they find. Let me show the cover again. Yes, here we go. Okay, the Nature Explorers scrapbook. It is really beautiful. We haven't really used it yet, even though the children got it for Christmas. But now that we moved to a rural area of our state, I'm very excited to start using it. So that is in the animal section, or in the biology section. I don't really have anything in botany right now, but I will. I'll just kind of swap out materials. And then back here I have the the Chinese boxes, right? The zoology boxes. And those are classification for older children. And so that's why I have them in the back, because I only have 2 older children. So that's also a handmade material, and that's also available on the timeline it's free for anybody who has the timeline. So you can see that, the benefits of having the timeline is that you get a bunch of printable materials that you can use at home. And they're all tried and tested at home. Okay, here we're moving to history. So, what's crazy is, if I had a classroom, I'd have a whole shelf of biology, right? And here I have a cubby of biology. So, you do what you can with what you have. That's part of homeschooling. Okay, so these are the different workers. I can't remember what it was called. It's economic geography, interdependence. That's what it's called. Sabrina, we do have the Chinese boxes on the timeline. So head over to where it says Chinese boxes in the biology section, and you'll find it there. Okay, so these are the economic interdependence cards. And these are amazing for 6-year-olds. For some reason, Maria Montessori noticed it right away, and Mario Montessori noticed it. 6-year-olds love to explore how things are made in their communities. Oh, good, you're going to ask about the interdependence material. Awesome. So this is kind of like you tell it like a story. It's a conversation, and we'll talk about it more for those of you who are in the hub. We have our Ask Me Anything call tomorrow. And so, yes, Sabrina, we can definitely chat about these tomorrow. But these are all of the cards. And right now I don't have them separated. I really should. But I'm going to be introducing them probably next month. And especially since we're in a rural area and we have really direct contact with farmers and everything. They're also called community helpers. That's not what they're called in my album, Kathy, but you're absolutely right. I've also heard them called community helpers. So it talks about, how bread is made. And so all of the different people that are involved in making bread. And so it helps children to develop an appreciation of everything that goes into what we have and how we are all depending on each other for our needs. And it's a really beautiful way to help children appreciate the work of others. And then over here, I have the timeline of the millennia. Right, and I got this one on Allison's Montessori, but then one of my hub members, Libby, created her own version. Whoops, there goes my book. Created her own version, a printable, and you're now able to purchase it on Teachers Pay Teachers, and the link is also in the timeline. That one you do have to purchase. It's not free through the timeline, but you'll find the link in the timeline, and so that makes it a lot easier. And what's great is that she also made arrows that have the dates and the descriptions of some important times in history. And so it's fun for the children to go through the timeline and see what happened when. So that's the timeline of the millennia. And I like to take this out whenever I'm exploring with the children a new stage in time, like a new era, for example, or a new time period, because then it gives them some context of where it was taking place in relation to what they're familiar with. Okay, then over here, I have these 3 books, which I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with. So it's the series, The Universe Tells Our Cosmic Story. So it's book 1, which talks about the creation or the formation of the universe. Book 2, which is how life came to be. And then book 3, which is human beings. And these complement they are amazing. They complement the great stories or the great lessons really well. And so what I like to do sometimes is present the great stories at the beginning of the school year and then revisit these like around January to kind of refresh the children's memories and get them asking questions again. There you go. So that's my entire history collection right there. And obviously I'm going to rotate, as I need to, as the children's interests evolve. Okay, and here is my massive geography section. I'm going to show you what I have. I made this pin map. And again, the instructions are in the timeline. If you go to the child's country, the lesson, the child's country, you can learn how you can very easily make these for free. And I even have the little flags for the states and the capitals available on the timeline for free for anybody who uses the timeline. But you do have to make them, obviously. You have to put them pins. But there you go. So the children, the older children who are working on the map of the United States can use this material. And then I found, Sabrina, I think you were the one who had posted this. Do I read all 3 books in one sitting? All 3 of the Universe Tells a Story? No, definitely not. I read one and then we talk about it for a week and I see what questions come up and then I read the next one after maybe a couple of days or a week, depending on how excited the children are. Yeah, so Sabrina, I saw this on your Instagram and I thought it was super cool. It's a stencil, right? A stencil of the United States. And my daughter loved it. And so I'm really glad that you suggested this stencil. It's really cool. And I look forward to using it this year. Okay, guys, so that is geography. And again, I will rotate it as the children's needs and interests evolve. There you go. Oh, and these little boxes are from Michael's. They have like this whole giant box, and inside that giant box, there's the smaller boxes. Okay, so let me show you what else I have over here. Let me take a step back and then kind of orient you. Okay, a little trash can. And then here I have, these are amazing from Fossilicious. I've had them in my classrooms and I had to have them when I started homeschooling. Claudia and her husband have made a series of booklets. Let me just show you one. They are perfect for any child who is, even starting to read. So, maybe you're 7, 8-year-olds. They have descriptions that are really respectful of the children's intelligence, but they're not overwhelming. So it's kind of like reading, an advanced text in terms of the amount of quality information, but in a way that the children can digest. So it's really, really wonderful for taking deeper dives. The illustrations are great. The children can even copy them and color them. So highly, highly recommend it. This goes with the timeline of life. So I have those right there. Yes, they might look a little different, Sabrina, because there's a new edition. They just released a new edition, so it might look a little different. Okay, so over here, that's my fireplace. Obviously, when it's winter and the fireplace gets going, I'll have to remove some of those things, and so I'm going to need a different shelf, a different location for these things. But here I have some trays, and I have our globe, and then these right there, these are going to be their little kind of work journals. And so I'm introducing work journals this coming week. See, they all have their names, and they're blank because most of my students don't know how to read or how to write yet. So they're blank. So what I'm going to ask them to do is to draw something that really appealed about their day. Now, these are all their cubbies. So again, they're on the floor, but they don't seem to mind, and I don't either. So those are their cubbies. And then I have some other books here. Then if you back out here, I have our read alouds, picture books, a few, kind of research books. These down here, okay, so my daughter is, really exploding into reading, and I can't keep up with making the books for her. I was making her these books from it's called Rainbow Learning Materials on Teachers Pay Teachers. They're really, really great. I love them, but you have to print them out and make them on your own, and I was running behind on making them. She was reading them faster and advancing faster than I could print them out. So a friend gave me these. These are free, and they're kind of, graded readers. They advance kind of in a very organized manner, and they're okay. So we're just kind of reading through them. But what's really nice is she can pick them up and read them independently, and she's really enjoying that. So, you never know with children what they're going to like. So you just, want to have a variety of things. Okay, let me give you kind of an overview of where we are. So that wall is blank because I have a giant map of the world that I haven't been able to put up, but it will. And there's a writing table, normally has a stool. Then I have my clipboards over here. We do a lot of work on the floor because I don't have a lot of tables. So the children have clipboards, compasses, dry erase markers, and then a bunch of different markers for coloring. And we have the rugs over here. Oh, what were the books on Teachers Pay Teachers? Let me bring one right up. Okay, so they are from Rainbow Learning Materials, and they have different levels. And you can actually get the lower levels, the ones that just have like one word per page. You can get them for free, or at least you could, if you go on her Teachers Pay Teachers page, and then you buy these. And they're great because they walk the children through all the different phonograms and everything, but in a way that just it makes sense. It's not overwhelming. So the children don't have to keep like a whole story in their heads like they do with these graded readers right there. And so it works better. It's more like, it aligns a lot better with Montessori. And those are also linked in the timeline. Okay, so rugs. I got those at IKEA. I got that nice basket at a thrift store. So thrift stores are great places for finding classroom stuff. Then these are Melissa and Doug little cleaning supplies. I don't have the chains and the cubes and all of that up yet because am I on? It's okay. There we go. So again, they're really attractive to children who are not familiar with Montessori, and I don't want to have to be saying no. So when I introduce them, when the children are ready for it is when I'm going to take them out. Okay, now here we have the calendar that the children are responsible for updating every day, and then at the end of the month, then they switch it out and we talk about the different holidays. And so it's still freezing. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, my internet's kind of spotty. I live on the top of a mountain, so sorry about that. Anyway, there's the calendar. Those are Legos. They're not supposed to be there, but they are because it's my home. So we usually play Legos right before the children get picked up so that they have a chance to cool down. There's my dog, and then some stuffed animals. First aid kit, this is where they put their water bottles when they come in. Here is where I need an extra shelf. No sound. Oh my gosh, you still can't hear me, guys? Can you hear me? Hello? Can you give me a thumbs up if you can hear me?